Hello, I'm Jared Taylor with American Renaissance. I'd like to talk to you today about name calling, about names like racist and white supremacist. But first, I'd like to tell you a story. There's a small liberal arts school called Bard College at Simon Rock. It's in the tiny Massachusetts town of Great Barrington. This college, generally known as Simon Rock, loves diversity. Every fall, it puts on what it calls Diversity Day. Classes are canceled, and all students attend seminars where they glorify diversity and they bemoan the terrible, unfair advantages white people have simply because they're white. Last fall, a 17-year-old freshman noticed something about Simon Rock. Just as they do on every other American campus, the blacks stick with the blacks, the Asians with the Asians, etc. And this freshman began to wonder what it is that's so wonderful about diversity after all. And he thought he might host his own Diversity Day seminar to explore this question. He ran off some flyers offering a reward to anyone who could list 5 benefits of diversity other than ethnic food and music. He thought he would discuss the best answers in his seminar. Well, bad mistake. You see, at Simon's Rock, as at all college campuses, you never ask what the benefits of diversity are. You simply believe in them without even having to know what they are. This unfortunate freshman asked a simple factual question. What are the benefits of diversity? Did he get a factual answer? No. He got online comments like this. Go punch him in the gut. Do we have a flagpole we can duct tape him to, preferably naked? And I just consider this fucker fresh meat. One of the people actually mentioned an advantage of diversity when he wrote, quote, drop him off in some housing project somewhere. I'd say kick his ass. Because you see, one of the great things about diversity is that it means there are neighborhoods conveniently located all around the country where you can dump a young white man and expect him to be beaten up, maybe even killed. And then, of course, there was the name calling. Our freshman was called a white supremacist, and there was a big push to have him expelled. It even looked like the school was going to do that until his parents threatened to sue. So the offender was allowed to stay, and the non-white students were furious. They issued a statement saying that by failing to expel this horrible person, the administration was, quote, essentially legitimizing white supremacist ideologies on this campus. Got that? Legitimizing white supremacist ideologies. Then they went on to boycott their own Diversity Day. They claimed that with all this white supremacist ideology poisoning the air, Diversity Day was just a consolation prize, and that every day should be Diversity Day. Well, that's campus life for you in our glorious era of, well, of diversity. But back to this question of white supremacy. I've been called a white supremacist, and I confess that I have gone a little further than this Simon's Rock freshman. I have actually said that diversity is bad for America because people of different races often don't get along with each other. And because if this diversity keeps up, it will make white people a minority, probably a hated minority, in the country that their ancestors built. But what does that have to do with white supremacy? Nothing. If you ask what's so great about diversity, or why whites should want to become a minority, or what's wrong with preferring the company and culture of whites, you don't get answers. You get screamed at. The words white supremacy are one long, repulsive, ugly scream. And the reason people call you that is because white supremacist is the most provocative, emotion-laden, dramatic insult liberals can think of. It's worse than wife beater, or maybe even murderer, which are merely regrettable lapses by comparison. The idea is to take Jim Crow, lynching, slavery, police dogs and fire hoses, and hang all of that around your neck. It's like saying, you may be questioning diversity, but what you really want to do is crack the whip over cowering darkies. You think I'm exaggerating? Well, one of the blacks at Simon's Rock said that our wicked freshman was, quote, he would have supported slavery. Ask a question about diversity and you support slavery. Now, I've been knocking around the undeceived end of the political spectrum for a long time, but I've never met a white supremacist. I've never even heard tell of one. I've never heard of anyone who wants to rule over people of other races or abuse them in any way. The people I know just want to be left alone. It's true that most people with any sense know that whites, on average, are smarter than blacks. But most people with any sense, including me, also think East Asians on average are smarter than whites. I just don't see how that makes me a white supremacist. So first of all, calling someone like me a white supremacist is as wrong as calling someone a Dukakis supporter. There is no such thing. But the idea, of course, is not to be rational or accurate or thoughtful or fair-minded or truthful. The idea is simply to splutter and shriek. It is the desperate and contemptible way that liberals avoid questions when they don't have answers. You know, it's a funny thing about liberals. An awful lot of them laugh at religion, especially Christianity. They think they are so superior to bumpkins who pray to God and go to church. They're above all that, you see. But they have a religion, all right. And they practice it with the same medieval ferocity of inquisitors who burned people at the stake and Muslims who beheaded apostates. What did those compassionate liberals at Simon's Rock want to do with a student who got out of line? Beat him, tie him to a flagpole naked, dump him in the projects, certainly expel him. Why? He doubted their religion. Those students are going to grow up to become just like the people who run this country. They don't debate. They don't reason. They just try to silence you and discredit you with wild name-calling. That is the behavior of people who don't think. It's the behavior of people who can't think. They simply believe what they have decided to believe. So remember this. If anyone is so baffled by your questions that he starts calling you names, it's the most graceless way of admitting he's lost the argument. And if he calls you a white supremacist, he could be ignorant or vicious, but most likely, he's both. Thanks very much.